someone is about to collapse on the street in front of you. Not a metaphor, not a thought experiment. Picture it right now. You are walking. There are other people nearby, and someone ahead of you stumbles, grabs a wall and goes down. Your first instinct is not to run toward them. It is to look around, to see what everyone else is doing, to wait for someone else to move first. And if no one moves, there is a reasonable chance you will not either. That is not a comfortable thing to know about yourself. But the real answer is far stranger than selfishness, far more interesting than cowardice, and it reveals something about the way your brain was built that changes how you see almost every group situation you have ever been in. You're not a bad person. You are a social animal running ancient code in a modern crowd. On March 13th, 1964, a woman named Kitty Genovese was attacked outside her apartment building in New York City. She screamed. She called for help. The attack lasted over half an hour, and according to the original reports, 38 witnesses heard or saw something and did nothing. No one called the police. No one intervened. She died. The story spread across the country and sparked a crisis. How could 38 people do nothing? The answer that the public landed on was simple and deeply satisfying. People in cities are cold. Modern life makes us selfish. We have stopped caring about each other. But two social psychologists named John Darley and Bibb Latané were not satisfied with that answer. They suspected something else was happening, something more mechanical, more disturbing, and more universal. So they built an experiment. They brought participants into a room, told them they were going to have a group discussion about college life, and then connected them via intercom, each person in their own separate cubicle. At some point during the discussion, one of the voices on the intercom began to sound distressed, then desperate. Then it said, in a shaking voice, that he was having a seizure and needed help. Then it went silent. Here is what Darley and Latané found. When participants believed they were the only other person on the call, 85% of them left their cubicle within the first minute to get help. But when they believed there were 5 other people on the call who had also heard the seizure, only 31% responded. And they responded more slowly, much more slowly. The size of the group had not made people more helpful. It had made them dramatically less helpful, and the people who did not respond were not indifferent. They were visibly anxious. They sat at the edge of their chairs. They looked uncomfortable. They wanted to help. They just did not. Darley and Latané called this the bystander effect, and what drove it, they argued, was not selfishness at all. It was 2 psychological mechanisms so deeply embedded in human social behavior that they operate almost entirely outside conscious awareness. The first is called diffusion of responsibility. When you are alone and someone needs help, the responsibility lands entirely on you. There is no ambiguity. You are the only one who can act, so you act. But the moment other people are present, that responsibility spreads. It distributes itself across everyone in the group. Each person feels a smaller share of the obligation. If there are 10 people and one person needs help, you do not feel responsible for 1/10 of the situation. You feel almost no responsibility at all, because surely someone else will handle it. The math of moral obligation does not add up the way you would expect. More people means less action, not more. The second mechanism is called pluralistic ignorance. This one is subtler and in some ways more unsettling. When an ambiguous situation occurs, and most real emergencies are ambiguous at first, you look to the people around you for information about how serious it is. Is that person on the ground drunk or having a medical emergency?
Is that smoke coming from a fire or from something harmless? You scan the faces of the people around you. And here is the trap. Every other person in the crowd is doing exactly the same thing. They are scanning you. So everyone looks at everyone else and sees calm, uncertain faces. And they conclude, this must not be serious. If it were serious, someone would be reacting. The group manufactures a false consensus out of shared uncertainty. No one knows what is happening, but everyone acts as though they do. And the signal they are sending each other by doing nothing is that doing nothing is the correct response. You're not reading the crowd. The crowd is reading you reading the crowd. Darley and Latané ran the experiment again with different variables. They filled the room with smoke while participants filled out questionnaires. When participants were alone, 75% reported the smoke within 2 minutes. When 3 people were in the room together, only 38% reported it. And many of the remaining participants continued filling out their questionnaires, wiping their watering eyes as smoke filled the room around them. They had looked at each other, seen no alarm on anyone's faces, and concluded it was probably nothing. The smoke was real. The danger was real. And they sat in it. Now step back and ask why a brain would be built this way. Because it seems, at first, like a catastrophic design flaw. You're in a dangerous situation, and your social instincts make you less likely to act. What possible evolutionary advantage could that have? The answer lies in what group life was actually like for most of human history. In a small, tight-knit community of people who knew each other, the kind of community your ancestors lived in for hundreds of thousands of years. Looking to the group before acting was not a flaw. It was wisdom. If everyone in your village of 50 people ran toward a sound in the forest and it turned out to be nothing, you had just wasted 50 people's energy and potentially exposed the group to danger. Coordination required reading the group, waiting for a signal, acting in concert rather than individually. In that context, the social instinct to look around before acting was adaptive. It kept the group synchronized. It prevented panic. It conserved resources. But a crowd of strangers on a city street is not a village of people who know each other. The faces you are scanning for information are not the faces of people who know the situation any better than you do. They are the faces of people equally confused, equally uncertain, equally waiting for someone else to signal that action is required. The system still works. It is just working on the wrong data. There is one more layer to this that Darley and Latané discovered, and it is perhaps the most practically useful finding of their entire body of research. The bystander effect is dramatically weakened, sometimes eliminated entirely, by one thing: direct, specific, personal address. Not someone call an ambulance, not can someone help. Those general appeals dissolve into the crowd. Each person hears them and assumes someone else will respond. What works? What cuts through the diffusion of responsibility and the pluralistic ignorance like a scalpel is pointing at a specific person and giving them a specific instruction. You, in the red jacket, call 911 right now. That is not a request to the crowd. It is a command to an individual, and it works because it collapses the diffusion of responsibility entirely. There is no longer a group sharing a fraction of the obligation. There is one person who has been made personally, visibly, undeniably responsible. The social mechanism that was working against you is now working for you. Knowing this does not make you immune to the bystander effect. Darley himself, who spent his career studying this phenomenon, acknowledged that the pull of the group is powerful and largely unconscious. But knowing it exists, understanding that the calm faces around you in an ambiguous situation are not evidence that everything is fine, But evidence that everyone else is as confused as you are gives you something. It gives you the ability to act first, to be the person who breaks the social silence, to look at someone in the crowd who is waiting for a signal and give them one, to understand that the stillness around you is not consensus. It is a coordination failure. And coordination failures can be interrupted by a single person willing to move. Someone is about to collapse on the street in front of you. Now you know exactly what is happening in the crowd around you, and you know exactly what to do about it.